Hello and welcome back to the Goat Cave podcast. Today's guest is doing his part to make BMX a better place. He saw the need for people in underprivileged countries to have good quality bike parts to ride. So he started Share a Smile, Share a Bike, a nonprofit that gets secondhand BMX parts to the people who need it most. Gabo, it's awesome to be sitting down with you. How are you doing today, man?
Well, today I'm a bit sick, as you can hear, but apart from that, I'm really happy to be here and really happy to share a little bit of this.
Definitely, man. And I'm actually really excited for this one because not only are you giving back to BMX in your own way, but there's some other stuff that you've also done. And, even recently there was an awesome photo in a BMX magazine. So, why don't we start out where you started riding and then we'll work from there?
One of my first memories is riding a bicycle, getting my first bike actually. And I tried to ride ever since, but since I was good at playing football, my dad didn't just didn't let me ride bikes. And then we moved from Argentina to Malaga, Spain, and then I started riding Malaga. And that was, I think, 17 years ago now.
Dude, that's wild. And Malaga is like seriously one of the coolest places in the world right now for BMX. Obviously, Barcelona's not too far away from there, and some of the like spots that I've seen and just I had a couple friends who were from Ireland that went there for pretty much 6 months, just lived there. And dude, some of the stuff that I saw them riding was insane. And it's such a beautiful, just place in general.
I've traveled quite a bit, and Malaga and Barcelona are some of my favorite cities. I live in both of them. I lived 3.5 years in Malaga and 4 and 7 months in Barcelona. It was an awesome experience. Back then, when I first started riding, Malaga was not that good, but Ruben was starting to do his own thing, so he helped the community a lot. Actually, that's one of my first memories, just going to a park. Ruben came with some old parts and said, "Hey, who needs something? Because I am not going to use it."
Dude, that's awesome. And Ruben is he's a legend, man. And like to see that he's kind of close by there is insane. And I believe his park is in Malaga, right? There's a park named after him that like I know he helped design.
Yeah, I mean, he was the main guy doing everything in the design. There is also it's a huge complex. It's like a bowl. There's a bird mini ramp. There's a mini ramp. There's trails. There are, I don't know, pretty much. There's a plaza too. Pretty much anything you need.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to pull up a photo of it right now, but why don't you just tell us a little bit about Malaga and being there and riding and whatnot?
Well, I have two times in Malaya. When I was a kid, I first started riding when I was 13. I lived my riding time 6 months, but my parents split, so I moved back to Argentina with my mom, and then I came back 3 years after. The scene has changed when in the second time I was there, and the people was kind of different too, but the facilities were way better. We had back then a lot of more skate parks, new balls. They were just about to build the Ruben Bowl and so on. So it was just easier to ride, and there were a lot of new riders to ride with.
When you first got into riding, your first true BMX bike, do you remember kind of what it was?
Yes, I mean the first ever BMX I had was like the Argentinian industry imitation of a old 80s BMX, and the brand was Crocodile. There was a blue bike, and it was awesome. And then once I was a teenager, my first bike was a Mongoose. That was a green Mongoose. I don't remember the model. No, that's actually not true. My first bike was a GT Vertigo, and then I got a Mongoose.
Nice, dude. That's really rad. It's cool to see that you kind of had like an influence from Aiken even from a young age. I think everybody kind of has, right? Like even if you don't know him, I think you would know like you would kind of follow that style since so many pros do, right? So many people look up to Aiken and just the way that he rode and still rides to this day. So I think everybody kind of takes an influence from him, whether they really think they do or not.
It wasn't just riding. I mean, the guy was just pushing everything. People were copying the way he dressed, the music he heard. People were just calling them fakens because he was influencing pretty much anyway.
Yeah, definitely, man. When I had Aiken on the show, we talked about that, and he thought it was so funny. He's like, I'm just a dude that loves riding BMX, and it's just funny that like everything kind of came from that.
Yeah, actually, I did an interview for Trail Records with him, and he's so humble. He just treated me like I was an all-time friend, and actually, I felt really, really good because, to be honest, I was really nervous. I'm not sure if you have heard, but there's people saying that you shouldn't meet your heroes because they are, after all, they are just people, so they might be idiots, and you don't know that. And after meeting, not meeting him, but talking to him for like almost 3 hours, I like him even more.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of felt the same way. Like exactly like what you're saying, right? Is you don't want to like talk to your heroes sometimes or don't meet them because things might not be the same way that you thought they would be. But
Yeah.
dude, totally opposite. Like some of my biggest influences and some of the people that I've looked up to for so long, I've had on this show, and I've had such a great experience speaking with them, and kind of like even growing a little bit of a friendship in a way, And I don't know, it's really cool. I think that BMX is so different where like you can't kind of compare that to maybe like soccer or something, right? Where like these huge pros aren't going to be on the same level or same like humble with you.
No, not at all. I think that we are, even though BMX has grown a lot and the industry is huge, and now actually it's kind of hard to have the same feeling. I mean, when I started riding, I remember I would, try 40 kilometer, 50 kilometer, and just bump into somebody with a BMX, and that person would be like, "What the hell? Where do you come from? Do you need a place to sleep? Whatever." Now that doesn't really happen that much, but still, I don't know. Some of the riders I used to look up, or I still do, like Ruben or Aiken or Chase. I met them all in person, and all of them were really humble, and I talked to them a lot. And Aiken, for example, was just this interview, but it was like 3 hours, and I was just planning like 30 minutes something, and I just felt great. Like a small family.
Yeah, definitely, man. Aiken does a really good job of that, and props to him. He's been through a lot. Um, yeah, but you had mentioned trail records there, so let's talk about that because this was something that I didn't actually know about until I started doing my research for this, and it's really cool, man. I really love to see just different BMX media outlets that kind of focus on one thing, right? Like we have our big three or four, Vital, Dig, and our BMX. But whenever we get something that's kind of small and different, I really enjoy that. And you guys, really focused in on just trail riding. And I think, especially being from Spain and being able to ride some of like the coolest trails in the world, that definitely had to play into that. But let's talk about that. How did you guys start Trail Records? And I know that you started it with two of your friends, I believe.
Yeah, actually, it was my friend Alessandro's idea. He was like for quite a while saying that since Can You Dig It disappear, we didn't really have like a BMX hub to just go trail hub. I mean, to go watch some videos after before a session, just getting hype. And he was, we have to do something. We have to do something. I was learning how to code, and then we started talking. And one day he just settled something down. We started fixing it together, and that was it. Then one day I was like, okay, I want to do my original content. I just don't want to share videos, even though I think that it's awesome. So why don't we start making some interviews, maybe jump report or something? So I contact Mike. He was following me on Instagram. I don't know why. And then yeah, we just talked a little, and he was down to it. And then I did a couple of more interviews. Then Alexander was doing some jump reports. And I don't know, it's just pretty much that we ride a lot of trails. I mean, I would ride anything just because I like riding bicycles, But trails is the main thing. And we felt a little bit like we didn't have that. So I'm a kind of person that I don't like to complain that much, even though I do complain. I just prefer to do something.
Yeah, definitely. And what I love too is like just how much dedication goes into this kind of stuff, and I really love that within BMX, a lot of people have this mentality of if it's not there, then we have to make it. Like they don't kind of look to other people, right? Like there could have been you guys just sitting there saying, "Oh, well, we don't have a thing for just trails." But I guess someone will do it at one point. You guys went up and actually did it, which is really cool.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's something I really like at least about trails riding. And I mean, as I say, I would ride anything just because that make me happy. But I have to admit that since I came back to BMX, I couldn't ride for 4 years because I had a traffic accident. The BMX scene changed so much that I feel more welcome in the trails scene. And when if you bump into a guy with a brake, like I don't know, you can recognize a trails bike, so you can see that, and then you feel like different and you talk differently. And I just feel like that kid I used to be meeting somebody new and just being friends. That's why I like that so much, and that's why I started Trail Records.
Definitely, man. And with trails in general, I feel like it's hard to be like, in a bad mood or have like a weird conflict with people. Like everybody just seems to be really stoked to just ride the jumps. And I think what is so cool about that is like jumps, when you start actually riding trails and being able to do the gaps and really just flow through them, it gets so like easy in the back of your mind, right? Like once you learn how to do all these different techniques, it's just so like I don't know. It's just so easy and it's so flowy and so fun that it's impossible to kind of have anything like that. Where maybe you go to a skate park and there's 100 people riding and it's hard to get a run and people kind of get agitated because of that, right? In the trails, you just follow each other and like hope for the best sometimes, you know?
I mean, we are even pushing each other to make more trains. You know, when we did the Firewall Trails Jam in Lost Trails, the French people were just screaming all the time, "Ale, ale, ale, choo, choo, choo!" And I mean, you are in your line, and unless you crash, that's it. You know, and nobody's going to cross your path. You are not going to have any scooter kid or any other rider just bumping into you all of a sudden. I don't know, and I like that feeling. I like that feeling that once I'm in the line is mine.
Yeah, definitely. And something I kind of wanted to mention too is just the fact that you were kind of a local at Lost Trails, if I'm correct. And Lost Trails is by far one of the most beautiful set of trails in the world, I would say. Just the way that the jumps are sculpted, and then the fact that they're big and gnarly, but they're also like super flowy. And it seems like as long as you're confident and you can hit some jumps, you could probably ride this place. And the berms there are literally some of the coolest berms I've ever seen. Like there's ones where it's straight up like a doorway. Like it's so crazy to see that in
Uh,
dirt, you know?
yeah. Well, first of all, I have to say fuck Paco because that was the owner of the line that kicked us out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. I mean, we had three lines and a table line, and we were. I don't know. To be honest, I wasn't a main guy there. I arrived at the end of the Lost Trail time. I was there the last 2 years. Once I started riding bikes again after my back injury, and they were just really welcoming. They were just really pushing and sharing, and I just feel I just felt home somehow. And actually, after the trails got planned in the last party, all the crew we got this tattoo that say "Stay Lost,"
I love
and
it.
yeah, I mean the play was really important to me because even though as I mentioned, I wasn't able to ride for 4 years, but I could make that shorter. But I had a lot of mental problem because I was afraid to ride, and that play a big role into that and helped me being back into what is probably the love of my life.
Yeah, definitely. So before we get too far into trail records and whatnot, let's talk about your accident since we've brought it up a couple times. So I know that you ended up having a traffic accident where I believe you got ran over by a motorcycle and it broke your back. And then you were
Yeah,
off BMX for 4 years, just healing and trying to basically be able to come back. So what happened there? Like, do you mind just explaining that?
yeah, no problem. I mean, it's that was 2012. Like John Gabo, I was starting to have a couple of sponsors. I think that was the first year I was starting to ride bicycles in semi-pro level. One day I'm going to the park. There is a guy with a motorcycle driving. Like I don't know. I guess he felt that he was Valentino Rossi or something. He took the corner way too fast. Once he saw me, it was too late. Ran into me. I flew away. And then next thing I know is I'm laying on the ground. I cannot really move my legs. I have to like crawl to the side. Somebody call an ambulance. I'm going to hospital. And I knew that was bad when the doctor is calling a couple of other doctors just to move you around, and because they
Yeah.
don't want you to move. So I ended up having a triple fracture in T6, T7, and I don't know the name in English of that, but it's in Spanish it's apophysis transversa from the T5. And I mean, I did 1 year recovery and rehab in the hospital, and then after that, I did 1 extra year on my own because I wanted to be fit for BMX. They say that I was fit for being a normal person, but BMX is not for normal people. And after that was just a mental game. The first time I got my bike, I just was riding around the city, not trying to do tricks, and I just was feeling like I was about to be run over again. So it took me quite a while to get over that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something that's so traumatic and so difficult to deal with, especially because, breaking your back can literally cause you to be paralyzed. So the fact that like you're able to ride again is amazing, right? And it's something that I think we've seen quite a few people come back from incredibly devastating injuries, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool. I think BMX, and I've talked about this before, but BMX, I think it just teaches people that like no matter what, you've always got to look at the positive and you've got to be able to try and come back from it, Like whether it be anything in your daily life or something where it's super traumatic and devastating, like the accident that you were in. But yeah, I just think BMX is really cool like that. And that probably played a big role in why you're able to come back to riding.
Yeah, definitely. I think once my grandma told me, if you really want something, you're going to find a way to do it. If not, you're going to find an excuse. And that's something that got so deep in my mind that I apply that often. Of course, that doesn't always work. Sometimes your bike could completely destroy and you cannot do shit. But in my case, I was able. I still had to deal with a lot of mental issues. But at the end, with that, with good friends and yoga, I got over that, and I'm really happy to ride bicycles.
Definitely. And let's go back to trail records here for a second. I just kind of wanted to mention, you guys have been doing this for about a year now. What are your plans in the future? Are you guys just going to keep posting awesome trail stuff? Are we going to see more interviews, anything like that?
Well, I have 2 interviews in the making right now. It's just that I'm doing too many things at the same time, so it's hard to keep all going. Then Alessandro was traveling, and he was doing some more trails reports or jam reports. I had some new ideas that I would like to discuss with you guys. But mainly, what we are doing is we don't really post on Instagram. We post some stories and so on, but mainly our content is in our website. And then we post anytime there's a new video or old videos that I personally find amazing. I just post them, and yeah, it's just a place to go watch trails before a session and get hyped.
Hell yeah, man. That's really rad. I'm really excited to see what you guys are able to pull off, Lots of good stuff on there. Like anybody who's into trails, head over to trailrecords.org and check it out, man. There's lots of stuff on there, lots of great videos and yeah, awesome content too, right? Like we have the Mike Aitken interview on there. There'll be plenty more to come, I'm sure. And yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Thanks.
Definitely. So let's go back to, just some random stuff before we jump into, what kind of brought us together. In the intro here, I talked a little bit about a photo that you had in the new issue of Freedom BMX Magazine. It was an ad for Alliance Bike Shop, which I believe is in Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did this photo come to be? Because it's so cool, man. It's a giant wall ride from, essentially a underpass, for
Yeah.
a highway.
That's actually a highway. It's just that I'm not sure how does the highways work in Canada, but in Germany and in Europe, usually you have those entrances and you have those big walls that I always dream to do over there. So it's COVID-19. A lot of things are shut down. They are building that, I don't know, maybe 45 kilometers, no, 45 minutes by bike from my place. a friend of mine found that, and the two owners of Alliance and myself, we were like, we have to do something. We are not going to have another chance to ride in an autobahn in a highway that is under construction, because after the war, right, you have maybe 40 meters and then there's nothing.
Right.
So we were like, okay, this is our chance. We are not going to have any other chance to ride a war ride like this. Actually, I'm not sure if you can really see it in that picture, but the place is just massive. I needed to get pulled over by a friend with a motorcycle to get enough speed to properly do it. Yeah, that was it. We were just like, this is our chance. We have to do it. My friend owns Alliance, and he wanted to have an ad in the new Freedom magazine, and I was really lucky to be there because, to be honest, I'm 30. That's my first picture in a magazine. Freedom is printing once a year, maybe twice a year. Print is pretty much dead, and I was just there, so that was kind of a dream come true.
Definitely, man. And we might be seeing more of you in magazines in the future because it looks like Ride UK is coming back. I don't know if you saw any of that, but I'm really excited for that. It's going to be really cool to see kind of what they get up to, you know?
That'd be mental. I would love to see more magazines coming back. I would love to buy some print magazines just to support them. And I don't know. If I have the chance, I would love to have another pick in a magazine. I don't really think so, but I would love to.
Definitely. Dude, I got a like wicked deal on some magazines recently, and I'm only 25, so for me magazines really weren't around that long while I was in BMX. Maybe 4 or 5 years before we started to see them kind of die off. And I saw a dude post some online, and I seriously picked up probably 40 magazines for 20, $30. Like, so crazy, just so cheap, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I have a couple of friends that they use. I don't know how many magazines they have. A friend of mine, Arne, he has, I don't know, at least 100 Freedom magazines from I don't know how many years. Freedom magazine has been running for 27 or 28 years. And I broke my hand. I think it was a year and a half ago. I was in the hospital. I was learning German, and then he just came with a bunch of magazines in German. I was like, perfect. This is the perfect excuse to read more and get into it.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, it's really cool because, like, for myself, I don't read anything. Like, I haven't sat down and actually read a book in a long, long time. For me, it's always magazines, right? If I'm going to read anything, it's either articles online, BMX stuff that I see online, or it's magazines that I have in my office here. So, yeah, to get like a bunch of them so cheap a couple weeks ago was really, really cool.
Yeah, it's really really cool. And I feel you because even though I read often, I don't do it in German, and I need to do that more. So getting my hands on those magazines actually really helped me. There's a podcast from Freedom Magazine, Grilled, that they started last summer. There's like five of them.
Nice.
That was actually helping me too. And it's that. I mean, I love BMX. I love pretty much anything that is related to BMX. So that's actually what I needed to properly learn the language.
Definitely. And let's talk about that because obviously, you had mentioned earlier that you lived in Spain for a long time. Obviously, you know Spanish and English, and now you're learning German as well. So, why did you move to Germany?
To be honest, it was pretty much an accident. Part of my family is originally from Italy, and part of my family is originally from Germany. I was tired of Barcelona, uh, and I don't know. I had a really life. I was a cook for a chef for I don't know 8 years. At one point I was just cooking and going back home and cooking for myself those Chinese noodles that you only have to pour water into them. And I was like, dude, that's not cool.
Yeah.
I'm going all day long for fancy people, fancy meals, and now I'm eating this shit. And then I decided that I need a change. That was more or less in the time that I got back to BMX. I quit my job. I started traveling around Europe, doing hitchhiking, on the last stop in Malaga, I met two German guys. I started talking to them. Afterwards, I just randomly decided I wanted to move to Germany. I asked them, they recommended me to move to Bremen. I moved, and I'm actually 2 years, 3 years, I would say, pretty much there, and I'm actually really happy there. Even though my German is not great, I don't know, my girlfriend doesn't speak much English, so we speak only German, and I can survive.
Definitely. Dude, that's really cool though, man. That's really like really cool. It's interesting here because, obviously I'm in Canada and then, the United States is right under us and it's English, right? Like we also in Canada will use French. My French is terrible. However, I just find it so cool that over, where you are, essentially every little place has their own little language, which is really cool. I really honestly, like, I need to start learning a second language because I'm terrible with anything other than English.
Dude, Europe is crazy. Many people doesn't know, but for example, in Spain, people think that you only speak Spanish, but you also speak Catalan too. You speak Gallego, you speak Euskera, you speak a couple of other languages in the same country, and you have the same in France. You have the same. It's kind of frustrating sometimes when you're traveling and you want to meet people and you are, I don't know, in France, in Poland, and nobody speaks English, but they're also really nice too because you can see more the culture and how people in that culture evolve in a different way, let's say.
Definitely, man. Yeah, that's really rad, man. That's really cool. I wish you the best of luck in Germany. I know there's some really awesome riders that have come out of there. Obviously, first one that comes to my mind would be Tobias Wiki, front brake genius. That guy is so
Yeah.
good and still shredding, man. I honestly would love to ride with him one day.
Yeah, you should definitely come over. And he lives in Cologne. That's not so far from where I live, and I have some good friends there, so we could have a good session and you could get to know him.
Hell yeah, that would be awesome. Anyways, while we're kind of on the topic of traveling around and whatnot, you actually went to California a few years ago and checked out all the cool parks and Woodward West, and what was that kind of like? How different was it from your average day in Europe, essentially?
Was really different, to be honest. It's another world because the States, I'm not sure about Canada, but the States is just built in a way that you need to have a car. When I went to California, I didn't have a driver's license. I just felt that I didn't need it, you know?
Yeah,
And then once I was there, I was like, oh man, what have I done? And that's kind of a funny story because I quit my job. I started traveling after I realized that I was able to ride BMX again. My doctor back then told me that I wasn't able to ride ever again. So I finally did. I traveled for months. I'm back in Barcelona. I still don't have a job, but my previous boss knows I'm there, so they are calling me pretty much every day because they want me back. And I'm like, what the hell? What am I going to do? One day I'm talking to a friend. He's like, hey, yeah, we're going to California. We're like, wow, man, that's rad. When are you going? I was like, I think in 10 days we are going to leave. I'm like, oh man, I wish I could go. And he was like, you can come with us if you want. You have plans? I was like, I don't have any plans. I don't have any jobs. I'm in. And I just flew with them, and I don't know, found my way there.
dude, that's really cool. And like, how different was everything there for like skate parks and whatnot? Obviously, going over to this whole other country, there's so many different parks and whatnot. And in California, it's kind of like, one of the biggest places in the world for BMX, skateboarding, action sports, right? Like, it's very accepted there.
Yeah, I have kind of love-hate relationship with California because my friend Moore, he's living in Santa Cruz. He's living, I don't know, maybe 200 or 300 meters from the shore. So we went surfing a couple of times in the morning. And then you would see, I don't know, 80-year-old guy surfing, 60-year-old woman surfing. You would go to a park, you would see some old people skating or riding bikes. You would go to downtown and you would see a 70-year-old guy like dressing like a rapper. and I love that. And you can see that because that's a lot of those things you started in California. On the other hand, you can see that the capitalism and this beauty mindset that you have to be perfect is really deep in people's minds and is stressing them out a lot. So you can have like it's a really big contrast between something really good and something that I consider really bad.
Definitely. And that's actually a really, really good point, man. I think that it's something that it's kind of built into the lifestyle here, right? Especially like what you were talking about is basically that, you know, you're looked down upon if you're not kind of perfect in that way, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I find that really shitty because at the end of the day, we are just all learning and all in our own journeys, and we are judging people, and we don't even know their life journey. We don't know if they had a bastard as a father that was fucking them off. You don't know if they had the trauma because their mom committed suicide. I don't know. You cannot just judge people randomly because they are not dressing this way or that way because they are not driving this car or that car, and that's something that is really shocking to me. I mean that also happens in Europe. Don't get me wrong. It's just that there was more vividly.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's something that's kind of like built into the culture within North America and you know, just these two countries in general, like Canada and the US, is that, yeah, I guess what you're basically saying is you just get judged so quickly and people don't kind of look at that. And I think that that's kind of, that can be very true.
Yeah, I felt really good to be honest there, because to be honest, I don't really give a fuck. I'm a person that I would, if I really dream something, I would find a way to do it. If I say I'm going to do something, I always do that. Most of the time, I need more time. If I say 1 year, probably it's going to be two, but I always end up doing that and I am finding my way. And I was there, for example, with no car because I wanted to travel the way I was traveling in Europe, and that was not the best idea to be honest. And then I don't know, girls that really like me were judging me because I didn't have a car. And in the States, that's actually really crazy not to have a car. Once you're 16, you buy a car. I don't know. So I think it's kind of sad because you are missing a lot from the personality and what is the essence of somebody. But on the other hand, I met that people too. I met people that were really, really pure and really, really looking into some other stuff in life. And that was awesome to him. Like my friend Murph is one of them.
Dude, that's awesome. That's really cool. And I think that you're really right there about just, you know, there's certain things that kind of like expectations that we set here that maybe, you know, Europe doesn't really have to do. Obviously, you know, transit is one of those ones that you keep mentioning that's so perfect, right? And Canada as well as the States, things are built so that, you know, you, an individual, need one to get around, right? Whereas in Europe, you can basically just hop on a train and go wherever, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like super easy.
For example, there's a ticket that's called Euro Train or something like that. I think depending on how many months you want to use it, is there are different prices, but I think the minimum is for like 100 for 1 month, and you can travel pretty much the whole Europe if you want. If you are living in Barcelona, you don't need a car. I mean, you can go pretty much anywhere by metro, bus, or I don't know, the train too. So I don't know. I went to California when I was 25 or something like that, and I guess that's something really crazy for anybody in the States that they didn't have a driver's license. But I just never felt like I needed one, and that was kind of shocking to me. That was like a really cultural shock because the way of the transit there, the highways there are just insanely huge, and that's something I kind of don't really understand because that's like, let's say that you are obese and not because you are eating that much, but because you have like, for example, thyroid problem or something, and then you are trying to cure the illness just with bigger clothes, but that's not curing the illness itself, you know. And that's what I see in LA, for example. The highways had like I don't know 8 or different lanes. I don't know. It was just brutally insane.
Yeah, it's it can get wild, especially in California. It's like there's so many people that live in California. Like literally I believe it's upwards of like 40, 50 million people alone just live in the state of California, whereas in Canada, the whole country, the second biggest country in the world, we only have 40 million, I think. So to see that like everybody fits into this small little place and you kind of see just how dense it is. Yeah, it gets wild.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, Argentina is the same. Argentina, I think, is the sixth largest country in the world, and there are like 41 or 42 million people. And here in Germany, Argentina, for example, is like 8 times Germany, something like that. And Germany has almost 84 million people.
Hmm. Yeah, that's dude, it's so wild, eh? You know what? Let's move on to share a smile, share a bike. So this is kind of what brought us together today. And
Yeah.
yeah, we talked about this before the show. A good friend of mine, Mikey, sent me a message just saying, "Hey, look at what this guy's doing. This is really cool." And then yeah, I ended up kind of reaching out to you. And why don't you basically explain what share a smile, share a bike is?
Well, pretty much, Share Small Share Bike is a non-profit. I'm just collecting parts, sending them to different countries. I started with Argentina just because I'm from there, and now we are building the same project for Brazil. We're going to help a, a small school in a favela in Sao Paulo. Pretty much what happened is that I grew up in Argentina. It was really hard to ride. Back then was harder than now. Back then we really didn't have many parts, and they were really expensive. Now there are a lot more parts, but the economy of the country is extremely shitty, and yeah, it's just really hard to ride. Brazil is kind of the same, but if I have to be honest, my goal eventually is help out more in Africa and Asia because they really need the parts. They really don't get the parts. But since this project, I mean, I've done this for years. I've helped people for years. But last year, a friend of mine from Argentina was having really, really bad times with drugs. He was just coming over all that. And I wanted to give him a bike because when he was riding bike with me, he was actually happy and keeping himself out of all that. Then another friend told me, why, if you are doing this and you are sending a bike over to Argentina, try to make it a little bit bigger. We already have got more parts than for what you need for a bike. So I did that and I started the Instagram. And yeah, I started with Argentina because of that. Now Brazil, also because we know people in Brazil that we can really trust. That's the main problem. That at the moment this is quite small. Not many people know us. It's hard to get good contact of people that you can trust. That they are not going to sell the parts once they get them. And I started with these two just because of that, because we know the people in those countries and we can really trust them.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part, right? Is just finding trusting people that are actually going to do good for the community and not just kind of take this for some selfish personal gain.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to kind of talk about what you'd mentioned there with your buddy. It's no secret that BMX literally takes people out of that kind of mindset and keeping people positive, right? Like I know so many people, and in fact, one of the first guests on my show ever was someone who had been addicted to drugs for years. And after he came out of it, the thing that he felt, filled that void was BMX riding and just being out with your friends and being positive, right? Like, even if, you're just going out and riding and just having fun and not really trying to push yourself, you're still out there doing better than you would be otherwise, right? And I don't know. I think that's what's so awesome about this program is that it literally is going to help so many people kind of stay away from drugs and keep positive things in their mind and work for certain goals, whether it be on and off the bike. And yeah, man, I just think it's really cool. Good on you.
Thanks. I mean, I think that you have to be the person you would like to see in the world, the person you would like to meet, and that's always my motto. When I was talking to Emiliano, my friend from Argentina, and then he was just telling me the same, like that he got over all this shit, years of drug abuse, years of alcohol abuse, and then it was hard for him to stay clean because there was a boy that he wasn't able to feel, and I was like, dude, get the bicycle, just start riding bikes again. And he was like, yeah, I'm trying, but every time I get to save some money, I just need to buy shoes, or I need to do this, or I need to do that, and it's everything too expensive. So I was like, don't worry, man, I will get you a bike, and I will find a way to send it over. And that's what I did. I come from a neighborhood in Argentina. It's actually, I mean, it's not the worst in my city, but it's not the best. And I'm pretty sure that I'm the person I am today because of BMX, because I had BMX in really dark moments in my life. And BMX is usually like a meditating state, let's say. You have to be so deep in what you're doing. If you are not, you probably are going to crash, and you might crash anyways if you, even if you are 100% there. So after a session, especially at trails, you feel differently. It's something else, and it's like meditating. And you have the same problems, you have to deal with the same shit, but you can just deal with that in a more calm and, I don't know, healthy way.
Definitely, man. And what I love too is just the fact that there's been so much support from the community. Like you guys have already sent parts out to obviously Argentina as well as Brazil, I believe. And all of the shipping costs are funded through GoFundMe and everything. So it's really cool, man, honestly.
Thanks. I mean, haven't sent anything yet to Brazil. We are on our way. We are building. Actually, I have a box here with the handlebar, couple of rims, and things that we are building. We sent, I think it was like 50 kilograms of parts to Argentina. I also helped with the logistic of a shipment for a guy from Barcelona. I was doing kind of the same, and he sent to Nigeria, but I cannot say that I did that with the project. Then I also helped out Alliance, and they were sending some parts to Thailand. And then a good friend of mine that I'm filming a video with, he's originally from Dominican Republic, and he was like, Gabo, I want to do something. Gabo, I want to do something. Gabo, I want to do something. I was like, hey, just as the universe, just focus on that and don't think how you're going to do it. Just think that you're going to do it and you're going to find a way to do it. And a couple of weeks later, Mikey wrote me, and I'm here talking to you. And he's moving down to Dominican Republic. So that's crazy.
Dude, that's awesome. And we kind of mentioned this earlier. Obviously, you have to find a person to kind of be able to distribute the parts for you and kind of like figure out who's deemed fit for, secondhand parts, essentially, who needs them the most. And
Yeah.
how difficult has that been? Obviously, the box that you sent to Argentina, you kind of have some friends there, so you could kind of know where things were going to go, right?
Kind of. I mean, I didn't know whom was about to get the parts, but I did know Leo. I did know that Leo had a big role in changing my mindset because I wanted to keep everything really underground, and he was like, Gabo, you're awesome. You have to keep on pushing this. You have to make this bigger. You have to have an Instagram account because then once you get, I don't know, 200,000 followers, you can go to with the people that is 200 kilometers from your house and say, hey, dude, look at this. Give me 3 bikes. I'm going to bring them down to Uganda or something like that. So you have to change the way you are doing it because, as I say, I was doing that for years. And now I kind of changed my chip to do it a little bit more professional, and that's the most the crazy part is that you cannot really trust anybody that you haven't met, and that's why I started in Argentina. Now I also have a guy in India because a friend of mine was living in India for a couple of months and he gave me the contact, and I'm talking to a guy in Australia that wanted to send me parts to Germany. I was like, dude, doesn't make sense to send me anything to Germany because I have to ship it again to the other half of the globe. So let's find somebody. Then I got this contact, and that's the hard part. But that's coming. The more people following us, sharing our content, the more people that we are going to get to know that we can rely on, and the more we are going to be able to help, and the more people that actually also wants to donate their own parts.
Definitely, man. Yeah, it's gonna be really cool, and I find that a lot of these communities that you're giving to have some really, really talented, underrated guys riding. Like, all the stuff that went to Argentina. It's a few weeks back, I had the Shift Life, aka Martin from Animal Bikes on, and he actually is from Argentina as well. So we talked about like jam that he held back in 2016 there. And dude, just the riding is insane. Like those guys send so hard where like I feel like there's so many other communities within BMX that, oh, my front wheel's off a little bit. I probably shouldn't do this. And like these guys are just they're going for it, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, exactly. I was doing that for years too. Like, my family doesn't really have any money, so I was like, okay, I have to keep my bike shape. I cannot really go nuts, and that's what I'm trying to help people, just to push them a little bit harder. Also, I mean, we cannot sponsor anybody because I don't have money. Actually, this project cost me money that I don't have, but I still want to do it because I believe in this. But I want to get that guy that's riding like crazy and doing hop track and this and that his frame is fucked. He welded 5 times and he cannot do that anymore. And I want to have the chance to be there and say, hey, this is a frame. It might be 5 years old, 6 year old, but still running. So keep pushing because you are doing great. And it's like that kind of magic in life. I mean, we can help all the people that it's actually needing parts, but as I say, maybe we can do a little bit for BMX.
Definitely, man. That's really cool. And I think that that's like, just a perfect example of that. There's so many people there that, they're just barely hanging on with their parts. Like they're just, and it gets to the point where it gets dangerous too, right? Like you
Yes.
need new stuff. Like, and these guys are going to push it either way. So you might as well be on the side of helping them, And
Yeah, and actually, that a lot of people, especially here in Europe and in the States, in North America, I guess in Canada is the same. There are a lot of parts just collecting dust in a basement or in a room, or people is just changing because a new color, or I don't know. There are a lot of reasons to change something, but I've got a lot of parts that they were pretty much new, and I was like, that's why part of why I started this because I have built before this, I don't know, maybe 6 bikes, and it was always the same. Just funding a lot of stuff that was in really good shape, just collecting dust when there's a lot of people that could use that somewhere else. So I have the feeling I needed to change that, and I didn't know how. And now this is the how.
That's awesome, man. I really, really love it. It's really cool to see what you're doing. And let's talk about the benefits of this so far. There's been so many people just in Argentina alone that have new awesome parts to ride. I'm gonna pull up some photos behind me while we do this, but how many parts did you guys give away? It looked like quite a lot.
I cannot say exactly how many parts. I can say that big parts. I gave a bike to Emiliano. We gave up 3 frames. We gave 3 forks, 4 handlebars. I don't know how many hubs, like 5, 6, or I don't know. Sprockets, I don't know, 10, 15. I don't even know. I know that it was like pretty much 50 kilos or something like that. I cannot say exactly.
Wild, yeah.
But, yeah. And now to Brazil is going to be a little bit different because we are partnering up with a school in a favela that is already existing, and they do classes of a lot of things. They do dancing, and then they do capoeira, and now they want to also get that people that they are not interested in anything else but action sports, and keeping them out of drugs or shit. So we are going to build 4 or 5 bikes, different sizes, so they have something for everybody. And the bikes are not going to be given to people, but to school. And the school is going to manage them, to teach them. And we already have some good riders down there that wants to help with that. So I'm really looking forward.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool, man. That actually sounds really awesome. And it seems like that'll do a lot of good for that community, right? Like, I don't know, man. I just love seeing stuff like this where, it's so selfless. It's so, like, just for the community and just making BMX better in your own way. Like, it's really cool. So keep it up.
Thanks a lot. I mean, that's what I'm trying. I'm riding bikes because I love it. I'm not going to get pro. I'm not going to get sponsor. Probably I'm not going to get a picture in a magazine ever again. But just make me happy. It makes me a better person, and I just want to share that BMX happiness with other people. BMX saved me from really dark moments, from my own dark moments, from other dark moment, like when my mom tried to kill herself, and I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be here if it wasn't because of BMX. So if there's a small chance to help somebody that way, just collecting parts and putting some of my money into that, I will. I mean, I'm just sometimes run like that's how you got to know me. Sometimes I'm just writing random comments just to see if some people want to follow us and start maybe sharing our content, because the more people get to know us, the more chances we have, so that some people have all part advantage to give, and the more people we can maybe keep out of the streets in these countries.
Definitely, man. And it does exactly that. This keeps people, positive. It keeps people, looking forward to something, and it keeps people, it gives someone a release, like if someone's
Give
had a
people a
really,
goal,
yeah,
because sometimes if you have nothing, um, and you broke your bike, maybe you're not able to ride, but you are saving your money and you're working a little bit extra to have that happiness, that you know that as soon as you buy your new handlebar, you're going to have, and you're going to be able to meet your friends, or maybe just because of that friendship and that brotherhood feeling, you somebody's going to give you a handlebar. So it's not just the tricks, it's not just the meditating state, it's also the community, it's also building your own fan. That's actually why I love trails that much, because you can create. So it's not only that fun time, but the time that you are with your own life, you have something to look forward to. You can think that you're maybe going to do a trip with your friends. You can think that maybe in 2 months, now with COVID it's not possible, but in 2 months there is a new Vans Pro Cup near, I don't know, 100 kilometers from your home, and you want to go and see your heroes right in there. It gives you a purpose.
absolutely, dude. I don't think you could say it any better. Honestly, it does. And it makes you like, I don't know, for so many people, BMX is their whole life. And that's me for sure, right? Like, I'm a perfect example of this. Yourself, you're a perfect example of this. And I think BMX puts you in a position where you're able to work through some of the things that maybe you weren't able to on and off the bike, right? Like, obviously, the story that you had mentioned, it's something that is so difficult and so hard to go through. And the whole time, you were able to kind of turn to BMX and be able to take out, any of your emotions or just aggressions or anything like that, and put yourself in a better positive state of mind, right? And that's something that I think a lot of people, if they were just to find something like this, not just BMX, but if a lot of people could go out and find something that makes them as happy and it gives them a purpose, just like BMX does for myself or yourself, they would be
Yeah,
in a lot better of a place, right? And unfortunately, people find that in drugs and it just doesn't work. And then people find it in other things and it doesn't work. Like, it needs to be something kind of as rewarding and as important as BMX is to myself or yourself.
yeah, there's actually Canadian Hungarish author Gabo that talks about addiction and all this, and the guy is just brilliant. And the problem, like most of the people that is prone to be addicted, they have big traumas, and most of them follow some sort of similarities. So they are going to get addicted to something. So it's not if they are going to get addicted, it's to what. So if we are able to bring something healthy, like I don't care if it's BMX. In my case, it's BMX, but it could be skating, scooter, soccer, or whatever that creates community. But that's a problem. That's something that we have to change as a society. That we see addicted people like if they were making a choice, and it's not that they are actually ill and they cannot control that. So that's what I wanted to do with this. I know that in developing countries, the situations are often really hard. Uh, and if imagine what is going on in the state, for example, with the drug abuse, imagine that in Brazil, imagine that in Uganda, for example. At the end, when you have so many traumas, when you live in a country that they have like some civil war all the time since you have memory, it's so easy to get addicted to whatever. So if we are able to help, and we are able to bring BMX in this case to these people, that's a lot more, like that brings a lot of more happiness to myself than anything else. And just because I know how happy I am when I ride my bike.
Definitely, dude. That That is so true, man. Everything that you just said is like it's so important, and it's something that I don't like. I think a lot of people, I don't know. It kind of seems like it's repeating the same things, but like honestly, it's so needed, and we so need to hear this. And everything with to do with addiction and whatnot is everybody has an opinion on it, but in reality, there's one truth, and that it's if you look at the statistics, a lot of these people have had some very traumatic things happen over their course of their childhood or their life, and it's just something that, like you said, right? They will get addicted, but to what and when will it happen, right? Like to
Yeah,
what is the main thing there? And I think that, like you were saying, just something positive, something that, is going to create some sense of community or give back, in that certain way is so important. And that will fix a lot of the issues that, maybe they're going through.
yeah, exactly. This guy, Gabo Malte, I mean, he's been working with addicted people, and he's in downtown Vancouver, east side Vancouver, I don't remember. But he's done a lot of interviews with addicted people, and everybody says the same. When it gets to the point that is so basic, they say, it suits the pain. It just makes me numb. I don't feel the pain anymore. I don't feel the void anymore. And if we can create the same, but in my case, I'm pretty sure I have some sort of addictive personality, and thank God I found BMX when I was 13. And I'm pretty sure if I had found that earlier, I did actually, but my dad didn't. He just didn't leave me, right? I would have ridden earlier. But that's the point, and that's why I'm really happy to work in a favela and work with this school. That they are actually doing a lot. They are actually preparing meals for people. They are finding clothes to people, and now they are going to have a small BMX school actually because we are going to be a part. Uh, I'm just feeling nice and blessed to be a part of this.
Definitely, man. That's awesome. This has been really rad, man. Thank you so much for sitting down with me and just explaining this, because when I saw it, I was just so intrigued by this, right? Like it's so difficult to even like wrap my head around how well this is working out for you guys, because when you really break down the logistics of each thing, I know how much work it takes and how much effort it is and how thankless of a job it is, like this is something that it's so important, and it's awesome that you're doing it.
Thanks a lot. It's kind of, to be honest, some days is really good, some days it's not that good because it's just a lot of work. I'm not getting paid. I'm actually putting my own money from my pocket to do this. And sometimes I get people just I don't know. Today, for example, I wrote on somebody's Instagram. The guy got pissed at me because he said I was a bot, and I was like, dude, I'm sorry. I didn't want to bother you. And then once he saw the project, he was like, okay, just send me something. And I was like, dude, this doesn't work that way. And I don't know, he was just like insulting me and treating me like shit just because I didn't want to give anything to him. And first of all, the project doesn't work that way. We gather a lot of things together and then we send them, unless the person that wants to donate something is on a part of the world that doesn't make any sense to send. For example, if Mikey he said that he wanted to give me some stuff, I also told him the same. Don't do it. We can send them to some people we trust in República Dominicana, in Dominican Republic, because if I get them in Germany, I have to send them anyways there.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just a lot of people. They are just mad because I know there was a guy just telling me that how I dare to write on his feed when I was not even following him. And I was like, dude, have you even read what I actually wrote? And but then there you have some people, you have the smiles. That's actually why I wrote share a smile. You see those kids riding and you see how they feel actually blessed just for getting an old 2013 arcade with the people frame, for example, which in Europe everybody would look down to you because you're riding that frame, and they are just like that's the best thing that happened to them, and that makes my day.
Definitely, dude. And it's a lot of work. And like you said, right, there's a lot of people that maybe just don't understand it, or that are kind of taking the selfish route and want some sort of personal gain from it. They think, oh, well, why don't I just ask him for some free parts, right? And that's just not how it works. It's not like what your intentions are. In reality, you guys are trying to serve a whole community at a time.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
as someone who does shipping stuff all the time and whatnot, it only makes logistic sense to do it that way. It would not make sense to package up individual items and then send them out everywhere, right? Like it's and there's a lot of people out there that definitely need products and whatnot, but you know, your time will come. Like let's deal with these other places that have no way of getting new products, right? Maybe they don't have a bike shop, maybe they don't have these certain things, and you know, it costs so much. And then on top of that, you know, it's an underprivileged country. Like these are the most important places to deal with first.
Yeah, exactly. That's why my ultimate goal is to start sending things to Africa and to Asia. I already got some good contacts in Africa. I got the contacts from some people, some skater people. They are building. They have a like a ONG, and they are building skate park for free and helping building with the community, because of course they cannot pay for labor. And it is awesome to see that there's actually a lot of people doing this. Actually, I found another group of skaters building in Nepal, and that brings me hope, because I know that if I do something with these people, for example, they are already doing a lot, and probably I can rely on them, or I could eventually travel to these countries once I'm actually doing these projects, if I have enough money, because of course this project is not giving me anything. And yeah, I don't know, it's just what we were talking about, that the addictions and feeling and feeling yourself home, feeling that a lot of people might not have a home at home. So feeling that when you're riding with your pals, you're actually at home, and bringing that to people. It's just, I don't know, it's just an awesome feeling. And with the logistic, sometimes we might do exceptions if there is like somebody exceptional that for some reason we think, okay, we actually really need to help this person out. But in general, it doesn't make any sense to send 20 packages to Argentina. It's just really expensive. And and also that through Instagram, I cannot really check and say, yeah, this person is riding, and this person is a good person, and this person actually needs a hand. Because there is a lot of people that's asking just because it's free, and and not all of them actually deserve to get something.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's you make a really good point. I think that just doing it through the internet is really difficult in general, and that's kind of everything that you're working with at the moment, right? And
Right.
yeah, who's going to have the best intentions? Your best bet is to find someone that you know you personally know, or that you have found, you know, somebody who does know, you know, that has a good reputation and is willing to help out the community in that way. And to serve a broader community is going to be better anyways, right? Like it's really cool, man. There's a thing with the internet, right, where a lot of people think, you know, well, why am I going to send my stuff to someone who I've never met before, who I've never really had a conversation with? I don't know you, right? Like, just looking at it this way, right? Like, basically, you're a guy asking for free parts and you're promising that you're going to send it there. But some people suck and they wouldn't follow through with that. What do you do to make sure that people feel that they have done good, right? They've sent their products to a place where they're actually going to get used, and you know you're going to give back to the community essentially.
Well, that was something that was in my mind a lot, because to be honest, that's really true. I mean, let's say you are sponsored, you are riding for any brand, you are not pro, but you are getting a bike a year, maybe two bikes a year. Maybe you don't have much money, but you want to help, and you send me a bike, and then you never know what happened with that bike, and you would think, oh man, I'm an idiot, I could have had that money for myself, for a trip or whatever. So it's not much that we can do. Is there a point where you have to trust? But what we are doing is that we are keeping an inventory of every person that has given anything. If you gave us just one axle for front hub, we have your name, we have your Instagram, and once we gave that to somebody, that person is going to post that. And if that person doesn't do a post, because some of them, I kind of feel that they are ashamed to say we are getting this for free, blah, blah, blah. They always do a story, and we post that, and we tag the person that gave us that. We tag the person that received that. So if you want to follow the person that you gave a stamp, you can, and you can see afterwards I don't know, months and months, that guy riding with the stem. Maybe eventually the guy is going to sell, I don't know, but you can see that what we are doing is real. You can see that every single part that we give away has a new owner in the country that we say that was going to. And yeah, I think it's all we can do. Or if you have any ideas, I am actually open to hear them too.
Definitely. So if you guys at home have any thoughts on how maybe we can, like make sure that you're doing a great job with this and make sure that, everything is going to the right people and whatnot, send you a message. And I'm sure that you'd love to hear some feedback too, right? Like this works as a community project. Yes, you're the guy who's the head of this, who's basically running the whole thing. But without everybody else helping, this isn't going to go anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm happy to answer you. To answer anybody that have a question, I'm really glad to hear anybody's ideas because, as you say, I'm the crazy guy that say this is possible, and I'm going to do it. But to be honest, if nobody follows me, I cannot do shit because I don't have money, and I don't change my bike once a year to give it to to anybody. I usually run my parts until they are pretty much done. So it's really important to trust, to build trust, and that's why I that's what I came up with. But if anybody has any idea to share, I'm really happy to hear that.
Definitely. That's awesome, man. And why don't you just tell us, how can we be a part of this? How can we help out and, help be the change that we want to see within BMX?
Well, I mean, you can of course follow us, but that's not the main point because what I believe is that if you really want something, you just do it. And if you follow us, and that's going to be really helpful because, as I say, if we eventually have 100,000 people following us, instead of having second-hand parts, I could actually have those, but also have new parts coming from some brands because they would get some more promotion, let's say. But also, for example, if you live in Canada, and I was talking to Mikey, and I told him, hey, just talk to your friends. If they've got something, we gather everything together with you. Once you're about to travel, we go start a fundraiser. We have some good contents in República Dominicana, in Dominican Republic. We can send that over. We pay the cost with the GoFundMe or something, and then there we can have a jam. We can have I don't know. So it's up to you guys. It's up to, do you want to complain about the world or do you actually want to do something? If you want to do something, just write me a message. You have my Instagram is stay mystical like Gabo. The project is that or share smash share bike. Write me. I could help you with the logistic. I could tell you my story. I could tell you the hassle we went through. I went through. But pretty much is, you want to do something, just do it.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome, dude. I think that that's exactly what we needed to hear. And anybody who's in Ontario that wants to send out stuff to the Dominican Republic, I am going to be collecting parts and giving it to Mikey to bring with him. So, and if he leaves before then I'll just hang on to it and we'll figure out some sort of shipping way. But this is just, I want to be a part of this. So I want to try and help out as much as I can.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that. That actually means a lot because my plan eventually is that we collect parts, for example, in North America, and then we send them to Central and South America. We collect part in Europe, and we send them to Africa, and we collect part in New Zealand and Australia, and we send them to Asia, so, because that ecologically speaking makes more sense. So if you want to be a part of this and you're collecting that, once you get a big package, I definitely going to get the money with a fundraiser or something, and we can send that down to Dominican Republic.
Definitely. Yeah, this has been awesome, man. And thank you so much for joining me today. This was a really great conversation, and I think that just this positivity and this vibe that you give off is incredible. And dude, I'm really excited for everything to come with just everything you're working on with trail records, and then share a smile, share a bike. Like honestly, these things are both so needed within BMX, and good on you for doing it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for having me here and giving me the opportunity to speak up. I think that's actually really important. And Yeah, just I'm grateful that you gave me this opportunity, and hopefully we can do more things in the future, and hopefully you can also come over to Germany and get to know Tobias in person.
Definitely, man. I'm gonna make a trip over there at some point. I got so many people in Europe that I want to meet, and that I need to make the trip there. It's gonna happen for sure.
Do it. You're welcome here.
Definitely. And before we go, why don't you give some shout outs, tell everybody the last few words if you've got anything. Say thanks to anybody who has helped you over the years, anything like that.
Well, I want to say thanks to Alessandro and Henrik from Third Records. They are really good friend of mine, and they are really supportive. I want to say thanks to Henrik again and Jelle, because they are brothers. They're actually the reason why I'm in Germany. Also to my friend Tali, to my girlfriend, they are really supportive with all these projects, which shares master bag. And that's pretty much it. I just want to say that if you really want to do something, just do it. I would be here 20 minutes saying thank you to people, because I'm actually really a grateful person. I always, for example, when I broke my back, the people actually really helped me to be back in BMX. I have a friend, Leo, that he was actually a really big part of starting Shares Master Bike. He's an artist and he produced some BMX stuff. And I was like, okay, I want to do my own design sprocket, because I want one for me and one for the three people that really helped me. So I just did some, I gave them as a present, and they just got a unique present. So I cannot be here 20 minutes just saying that. But thanks to all my friends and the people that's actually supporting me, because even though I'm the person with the creativity and the crazy ideas, I wouldn't be able to do them without them.
Hell yeah, man. And thank you guys for listening and watching today. This has been a great episode, and we will see you in the next one.
Thanks.
Peace.
Bye.